Our last panelist is a gemologist hailing from the prestigious GEMS family. Mithun Sancheti is a certified gemologist from Gemology Institute of America, and just immediately on his return, he set up his first store and spearheaded the expansion of the family business of Jaipur Gems in South India. But soon enough, realizing the huge potential of online retail and using his deep domain knowledge, with this he combined his jewelry expertise with his passion for technology. And Mithun will share with us, what this online jewelry space is about. And I'm very happy to have him on same stage as the Bluestone, Mr. Ganesh representing Bluestone as well. So it will be an interesting Q&A after this. So over to you, Mithun.
Thank you, Paula. As much as that says that I came back to start my own store, and it's not true. It's Father's Day and I can't lie. My father set the business up. I basically moved to Chennai because the store was almost ready and I was back from GIA. Pretty much what I think a lot of young kids over here get to do when they come back from either GIA or diamond trading or having worked in some nice hedge fund in London or New York or one of those places and come back. The journey started right then for me, and then, of course, it took me 7 years by the time we could build our third store, which was in Coimbatore. And then I figured that if we are going to go at this pace, it'll be like I'll be 70 by the time we have 10 stores itself. And that would be really sad because I think I was a lot more aspirational than that. And I wasn't even sure whether, how traditional business would be back then, looking at what was happening with Blue Nile. I think Blue Nile IPO'd around 2004-05, around that time, and we were seeing a lot of changes happening as well. I also got to experience the change in America in 99-2000 firsthand when I was there at GIA. I needed a little more money than my parents would send me because I had a girlfriend back in India back then, and I needed pocket money to make telephone calls. It wasn't so cheap back then. And to do that, I would go to LA and pick up diamonds from big wholesalers and then try and leave them on Saturday and Sunday in San Diego area with the retailers. And if anything sold, I would make brokerage on that diamond as well. So this was like a weekend thing that I was doing over there. And as time went by in 99, sales got very difficult because of Blue Nile. Everyone was like, this Blue Nile sells at this price and I'm not able to do this. And it seemed, I got a taste of what was happening and what the future was going to be like for a lot of these guys as well. That overhang always stayed with us. 2002, 3, 4, 5, we built a reasonably good sized solitaire business for what we were doing, but we never carried inventory in our stores. Very, very limited inventory, but we used the power of connections that we had made back then, traveled around a lot. RapNet wasn't the advent still, and tried to use all of that, make every call possible, get as many emails of inventory possible, and try and do it in a manner that, I had just moved to Chennai. Nobody knew us. We were not a brand over there. We had to build a business from scratch over there. So every single client that I met over there, I more or less tried to convince about why solitaire was a great thing to do as well at that point. And I think we can take a lot of credit for the amount of work that happened in Chennai with solitaires as well. But it was not scalable. The biggest problem was it was not scalable. It was not going at a pace at which really made a lot of excitement as well. Personally gratifying, but not more than that. Also, there was baggage that as a business, we always dealt with a certain kind. Retail stores tend to do this thing. I deal in this quality only, or I deal in this kind of clientele only. They are not democratizing that the product category as such. They don't want to sell to everybody out there. Internet does that beautifully, right? I'm a marketplace of some sort for diamonds, and then anyone and everyone who has a requirement for it, I'll be able to service that part. At the stores, we would definitely not be able to do. That was one of the reasons why we decided to start off in a different brand name altogether as well, because we would not be able to service every single person through that part of it. 2008, we started off with CaratLane, quite a nightmare of a first year. All the problems which were going on with Lehman Brothers, I had nothing to do with it, and I have absolutely no idea why I was getting affected by it also at the same time. I never even thought about raising money or anything at that point, because if we didn't have something substantial, I don't think anyone who comes from a trading community or a manufacturing background like any one of us over here has the guts or the balls to go and ask somebody and say, can you give me $5 million? I won't be able to open my mouth and say that itself to those people. It's not something that comes naturally. toughest challenge for us was to convince HDFC to give us a payment gateway. I think a lot of guys like Bluestone who came after us got the benefit of us having done all the hard work before that. So, including shipping as well. Blue Dart did not want to ship diamonds around for consumers. They were happy doing it for jewelers as such, from jewelry hub A to hub B as well. I remember I had a 40,000 rupee transaction. I had to pay HDFC 5 lakhs as deposit to take that 40,000 rupee transaction through at that point. That was the nightmare of I couldn't understand what's going on. My dad knew some guys at HDFC and I thought that would help really, but this is how much it helped. That pay 10 times the deposit and you will get your money through. You'll get the 40,000 rupees. And if anything went wrong with that also, we'll take that back as well. So till today, I never got that 5 lakhs back because once you give a deposit to a bank, nothing ever comes back to you as well on that. We went on with it. 2009, we realized that some things there was some traction coming along. People still were like, really, diamonds online, do you want to do this thing? Because B2B also had not really taken off in that manner. But some of the early guys, especially in the trade and, saw the value in it and started to give us feed of their diamonds as well. And that really helped us get some inventory out there. I think we started off about 30, 40,000 diamonds at that point. Today, of course, we have over 1 lakh on this, but it was largely possible because of the entrepreneurial nature of of the Palanpuri as well as the other Gujarati communities that were out there. They were very helpful on that part of it. And I think the fact that we came from the business tremendously helped us a lot because that established credibility of some sort over there. My dad has a reasonably very strong amount of integrity and credibility, and that really was what helped me start off on my business as well at that point. We built that out, and we thought, okay, we're doing something, some business is happening, getting along. I still hadn't quit my day job. I was still running Jaipur Gems completely at that point, maybe spending 10% of my time on Carrot Lane at that moment. I don't know whether we also realized that what's going to happen, but we knew that the waiting game was very important in doing something like this. You can't just go crazy when the infrastructure is missing on all of this. And we also realized that first the advent of books and everything needs to take on, and then we will come on as a follow-up category on that part. Got a lot of advice, good advice from a lot of very interesting VCs as well as funds as well. Sandeep was pioneering as well on that part. Nexus helped a lot in the kind of conversations that we had. Till one day, we met a gentleman called Lee Fixel from Tiger, who sent us an email on LinkedIn saying, I would like to invest in Carrot Lane. Obviously, nobody takes a LinkedIn email seriously. I wasn't even, I don't even have a profile picture on LinkedIn. So I was like, this guy's not even seen my face. Who's going to take that seriously? Then Sachin Bansal, who started Flipkart, called me and said, this guy's for real. And why don't you go to Delhi and meet him? So I went to Delhi in the morning, I think at 11 o'clock. And I left at 2 o'clock with a $5 million term sheet in my hand. I still could not understand what just happened in this meeting over here. But clearly, this guy knew more about my business and the category than I really knew about it at that point. I was pretty convinced about that. And, we went on with that. And then, of course, following that, Tiger has been a constant source for us. We've done 3 rounds of investments. We don't tend to make those public as such, but there's enough speculation that goes on. I have never looked at money coming in as valuation. It's not something that I think of it at all. I think each time money comes in to grow a business, non-profitable businesses for me, because I come from a traditional background, does not mean valuation for me. It's more money to go out there and grow the business or discover what's going out over there. It is to establish what we are doing and to keep my interest going every single time. I feel that they give me something called valuation at that. So, and also their own interest as well, because they are managing somebody else's money as well. I have never looked at it at anything beyond that. I don't think entrepreneurs should get too heady about the valuation part of it. I think it's very important to choose the right partner or who you want to work with. A lot of angel investors try to behave like venture capitalists in India, and a lot of VCs try to behave like PEs in India itself. So it's very, very important to understand who you want to work with. Track record works tremendously for that. Mr. Ganesh is an example of that. He's invested in many companies and he's had successful exits. Anybody would be lucky to have him on the board as well, where you have an opportunity, basically somebody shows you the path of having done this multiple times along. Nexus is a phenomenal partner because all these guys have been entrepreneurs before itself. There are so many today out there and they're so easy that they can lose track of what they're doing. 2 years down the road, you might not even see that these guys have interest in you left at all because they just don't have the patience. They got into the hype of it, but they didn't land up doing it. But the real reason to choose one is that, who's going to stick with you for a very long period of time on that. I think a lot has been covered over here, and I know 12:15 was the cutoff time. I've already crossed that by 5 minutes, so I shall leave this open for Paula to take it forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Mithun, and thanks all of you. I think it was extremely engaging and very diverse, but very rich discussions can follow this kind of a panel. So I'm going to, before throwing it open to the audience, I'm going to take couple of questions and throw it open to I think all of you. First, Mithun, if we could just conclude with you, and then maybe Ganesh can sort of complete this whole picture of jewelry online. Can you throw up some numbers as to, I was really amazed when I did some research as to, how many people in India are actually buying precious jewelry online. What are the average ticket sizes? What are some of the highs? What are some of the lows? Just for us to understand, is it as easy as selling books, for example?
No, it's not easy as selling books. Diamond business and jewelry business has never been as easy as selling books. But it probably will become a lot easier as the brand gets established. I think the key to this is establishing the brand. As Sandeep rightly put it earlier as well, that everyone's got to make a lot more investments in making that happen as well. It will not come down to fighting. The next generation, or the generation that's buying from us today, they find it easy to do like comparables, but they're not like our parents and grandparents who will sit down and do making charge comparables and will sit down and do per carat diamond comparables on that. That's at least the saving grace for this industry. That's one thing that's going to change a lot as we go along with this thing. But if there was a like comparison, same certified stone available in 3 portals, I'm pretty sure that unless you have credibility, you're first out of that. If you have credibility, then the lowest price is probably going to win over there as well. Unless the differences are minuscule or something on that part. So, in terms of ticket sizes, the market is really growing right now. I think the last 2 years, and thanks to, more competition coming in some sense, frankly, I've never looked at online players as competition. I think for us, we compete with the offline world. The offline world is a 200,000 crore market. The online world, as you said, is an absolute minuscule. The more number of people advertise online jewelry right now, the more you're going to see people's attitude changing towards online jewelry as well. Yes, there will be leadership positions in that, but I think that battle will be fought when the market is of a certain size as well at that point. Today, I think market making is still happening on this part. It's still early days as well. Consumers on the jewelry side transact at an average of between 15 and 20,000 rupees. Those are the averages that go out. Solitaire averages are significantly higher, but that's also because they get skewed when you have a really large value transaction that comes up over there as such. On an average, I would say the market's definitely growing by 150 to 200% on the jewelry side of it. It's not a slowing down market at all. It's not going to slow down. This clip will probably exponentially rise as more and more things are done by the players who are there. I see already, I think at this point, we're about 24 or 25 jewelry online players out there. About 15 of them are funded by a diamond family or a jewelry family out there, and there are about 10 of those which have been done by someone who has a partner from the jewelry or diamond family as well. Obviously, all of them see opportunity in it. The best part about it that I feel is that there is a generation which is buying jewelry which otherwise we might be losing to television, or we will be losing to electronics and a lot of other things. That generation today does not go to the jewelry store to buy. I think we're getting them online a lot easier than the jewelry stores are able to get them in their stores.
Ganesh, would you like to add something?
No, I think Mithun, sorry. No, I think Mithun covered it pretty well. Being from the jewelry industry, I don't run Bluestone, okay, right? I'm a promoter of Bluestone. It's run by Gaurav, who is the CEO and co-founder. So both not being the person who runs it and not being from the jewelry industry, I respect Mithun's views. The only other statistics that, pretty much agree with what the numbers that he mentioned. The largest transaction we have done is a single order is a 18 lakh transaction, okay, right? Single order, okay, right? And that's the number. But average 15 to 20,000, the target audience, all of that is completely makes sense. The way, all of you know the industry very well. He knows the industry very well. my own sense when we started this, the question was, will people buy jewelry online because people like to go and see and touch and feel and see how it shows in light and all that stuff. The way we thought about it at that time is this generation will buy online. That seems to work fine. While 18 lakhs is a great number, that's not the average, okay, right? And I do feel when people are buying for marriage, when the people are buying for clunky jewelry, they go with the mother and mother-in-law and grandmother and aunt to buy. They perhaps will go to a Tribhuvan Das Zaveri or whatever that store is, will not buy that. That's the only addition. But I mean, I would any day take his assessment of the market as a jeweler and coming from a jewelry family than my own.
Thanks, Ganesh. The other thing I wanted to touch upon, I want to get different perspectives from all of you, is, we talked about valuations a lot, which is at which we get in. But as VCs, Sandeep and, all of us as investors, we are making that valuation thing on the promise of an exit. Now, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, all three of you, you founded the company, you're running the company, we have given some valuations. But for us, exit is built into this thing. As a founder, how do you view exit? Ganesh, you've done many exits. You're still into, holding on to your companies and seeing the valuations grow. As business families, it's very hard for us to let go. First of all, giving equity is hard enough, but to think of exit is really, it's like giving up your baby, which you brought up. So it's something that most traditional business people just can't understand. So and let me take views of the entrepreneurs, and then from Sandeep as the investor, I'm putting you as the entrepreneur, Ganesh, as well. So let's start with Anupam. You're holding on to your baby so far, right? Do you think about exits at all?
It's an interesting question. It's not as simple in India as it is in the West. And for me personally, I've always believed that obsessing too much about these things will make you take the wrong decisions. I think fundamentally what it boils down to is building a great business, right? Or a great piece of technology, or doing something that changes people's lives, even though you may not have profits at some point. And I think if you stay true to that purpose and you stay focused on delivering that value, I think eventually exits will come. Because look, I mean, you can be down or you can be up as far as macro sentiment is concerned only for so long. Eventually, I think if you are creating incredible value, I mean, today, when people talk about it's so hard to raise capital, you ask Flipkart or you ask, Mithun of Carrot Lane or any company that's really built value, is it really hard to raise capital? No, I think capital comes, if you create that. So in my case, we stay focused on that. Having said that, the truth of the matter is we have PE investors, so at some point we have to look at providing them that exit. India is not exactly a market that is very fluid for that or liquid for that right now. But I also believe that there's another set of financial investors out there now active in India where you have opportunities to kind of replace your existing investors if you haven't found an IPO or an M&A in the right time frame.
Yeah, so sorry, Pala, your question, how do, as founders, we handle exit as an emotion or as how do we plan for exit? What's the question?
Well, I think both of it. I mean, for emotional is a really hard thing as a founder. And also, is it ingrained in an entrepreneur that we should plan for it?
Okay, so, the question about how do I start business, I exited IT&T at Customer Asset, Marketex, Tutor Vista, and now building more businesses. So this is the most often asked question, not just from people from family businesses or this, even from other professionals, saying that you leave your job and you very passionately start a business and you get involved, you work very hard, thankless job and don't get salary and all that stuff, and then suddenly you exit and you walk out as if you had nothing to do with it. It says how do you handle that emotion part of it, okay, right? The answers are pretty straightforward in mind. One, it is a very emotional thing. Do I get up sometime at night and see whether I should have sold the business or held it on? I do think of it sometimes. Oh shit, why did I sell this? I should have held it on. So there is no right or wrong answer. The way I look at it, it's almost, I'm a Tamilian Brahmin, okay, right? So in Tambram culture, when you have a daughter, okay, right? When she becomes of marriageable age, you get her married off, okay, right? When you get married off I don't know about your community, in our community, when you get married off, her name changes obviously. Her Gotra changes. All of you know what's Gotra, right? Right? Yeah, Gotra changes. Okay, right? She goes to a different house, carries a different name, different Gotra. Her children will have a different Gotra than what you are. She's your child. But does it mean it's the best for you to keep her unmarried and keep her in your house and keep her carrying your Gotra? Okay, right? Right? Okay, right? The answer is no. Okay, right? Yeah. Okay, right? Yeah. The answer is no. Okay. Because she gets married and changes the Gotra, does she stop being your child? The answer is no. You do what is best for her, and that's how it perpetrates. That's the way we look at it. Today when people say I'm the founder of IT&D, founder of First Source, founder of Tutor Vista, they don't say ex-founder, ex-CEO, yes. But a founder is always a founder. Just like you're father of that girl. Just because the name has changed doesn't change. So I think there is a lot of emotion involved. Okay, right? And it's not an easy choice. Okay, right? So that's point number. That's the way I handle it. Okay, right? And last month I was in Tutor Vista office. Okay, it just hurt me a little bit that when I entered the office I had to sign the visitors register and take a visitor pass and enter. Imagine my company where I started, which I did that. Okay, did it hurt? Yeah, hurt. But then I thought of the 213,900,000 crores and said it's okay. Okay, I'm willing to be hurt a bit more for a lot less. So if you guys have some money and want to keep it, you're welcome. I think that is one. The other thing that, like Anupam mentioned, see, it's a different business model. If you want to do a business which you pass on to your grandson or grandchildren and have your name carried on and all this stuff, don't raise venture capital or PE money. Okay, right? That is a different business model. The business model is meant on monetizing, creating an exit and take. And these people will tell you their biggest problem is not just valuation. More than valuation, it is can they get an exit? Because getting in is easy. Getting out is tough. Any of us can start a business. We can put money, print cards, open a shop. But what happens later is the toughest thing. And the worst thing for a fund is valuation is important, but exit is more important than the valuation. Okay, right? And they would tell you that. So if you want to start a business, your mind is not focused on monetizing and creating an exit, don't take VC money. Put your own money, borrow it from a bank, ask your father, better still ask your father-in-law. Right? Okay, right? Do all of it. But don't take that. I think it's a thing. Now it has become a bad habit. After four exits, now nobody asks me that question. Okay, right? Okay, right? A lot of times employees also ask me when I try to recruit for my latest Portia Home Healthcare. One guy is working Tutor Vista. Sir, I will come and stay, but how long are you going to stay? Okay. I said, why are you worried here? Each of my companies are standing companies. Customer Asset, which Sandeep Singhal funded, we started in 2000, is today First Source, part of Sanjeev Goenka Group, the third largest BPO call center in India. Okay, right? Until recently, the head of it was my employee number 4. IT&T, which I started in 1990, okay, is part of Highgate Technology Solution. The person who is heading it was my employee number 40 or 50. After 20 years, 23 years, okay, right? So that's really is the way we handle it.
Mohit, you gave us our first exit. What were your feelings then? And what do you still feel about, your baby?
So, after your exit, I had opportunity at least like 3 or 4 times to exit Excel, the company who bought us, actually bought out all the employees, all the other founders. I'm still on with it because I believe that there's a lot more value to be created, and I'm enjoying it, right? So you want to stay on till you think you are getting value, and if you love going back to office on Monday morning, even on Sundays actually. So I think you want to carry on with it. And I think, as I said, if I really don't take Kawal to a stage, where we could make it one of the largest auto companies in the world, or we can't really go take an IPO, I think I've not done a fair job with that. So that's possibly keep me there. And I hope board likes it as well, my board, and I can stay on. So
you will face the classic conflict of a family business versus a PE. So how does the exit look?
I mean, I think about it, I guess, a little more differently. I think a business is different and an individual is different. I mean, I agree with Mr. Ganesh completely on that part. I don't think the two are the same as such. Opportunities will arise at a different point, and that's a different thought process to take at that point. as an entrepreneur, you're aggressive. You're always aggressive, I think. You're trying to grow very fast. You're trying to make it very big. You see the sun to be always rising. I think, to me, and at the same time, you're blowing a balloon as well. You know, both the things are happening because valuation is, to some extent, a forecast of what this company is going to be like at that point as well. So, unless you start really seeing that the sun is going down on you because you tend to lose the spirit to now carry it forward to the next level, or if you feel that this balloon is now larger than I really think it should have been at that point, I don't see myself thinking about it. I mean, the way I think about it, why should I not be buying Blue Nile? $500 million in revenue, $400 million market cap. I don't understand why one of the Palanpuri families doesn't buy it. You know, it's a no-brainer. Everyone has children entering the same thing. It's disguised unemployment. One of these companies should be buying out Blue Nile and then putting one of the sons to run it because value is created over there. Brand is built over there. Supply chain management, nobody does it better than them. I don't think there are many businesses like the diamond businesses today which have a better inventory management model out there in the world than what happens over here. The way they turn around a site by buying at cash and then turning this whole business around, impossible, I think, for most other industries to even imagine. Definitely e-commerce entrepreneurs can't do it. Yeah. So.
Great. I think with that, should I throw it open? I have several more questions, but Sandeep, I forget, the investor should have an
so actually, I think
Thanks,
both what Mithun said, I think what the entrepreneur said, and particularly I want to highlight what Mithun said. I think that's very important, that don't focus on the valuation in the course of building your business, you know, as in the stage of building the business, right? And that applies as much for when you choose to go public. So the notion of, you know, investors thinking of exit can be in two forms, right? Exit could be a sale of the business to somebody else, which what Ganesh did with Tutor Vista being sold to Pearson. But it can also mean a company going public. And when a company goes public, it is nothing other than another financing event. You've chosen to take money from the cheapest source of capital available. When you don't have a choice, you come to VCs. Once you reach a stage in your, you know, if you had a choice today to take a company public or taking, you know, private equity money, you may choose to go to private equity because you don't want your, you know, financials to be known in the public market and so on. There are reasons why people choose to keep companies private. But at some point when you have reached a scale where you think that the best way to raise money is to go outside and raise money from public markets, then that's the right answer. And that is an exit in itself for, you know, so it's a notion of liquidity for the investor. The liquidity can come from a sale to another, you know, fund like what Anurag mentioned or Anupam mentioned, or what it could be to, you know, I've had situations where, you know, the founders have bought out the investors at a certain point in time. In particularly in India, larger companies have done these deals which they call sort of these guaranteed IRR deals, right? So where you say, okay, I'm going to give you a 33% return, which is for most investors is a very attractive return, particularly if you can give it in dollar terms. So it says, okay, and you take the money because you think the business can go faster than the 33% return you're giving. And that happens in, you know, some of these businesses like e-commerce businesses and so on. It's fine, you know, at some point, I will buy you out because right now I need your money, but 3 years later or 5 years later, I won't. So there are various ways to play this game.
So what you're saying is, basically, if you're losing money to come to you, and if you're making money, then you go to the public markets.
No, if you're making money, some people don't want to go to public markets. And the reason for that is that there is a certain value to the privacy of what money you make. I can give you an example of a company that was in the same space as customer asset, in the BPO space. And they were making money hands over fist. And because of that, they chose to go public. And, you know, because they were very profitable, they went public. The day they went public, or 2 days later, or whenever they filed for the, you know, the thing, the largest customer called them up and said, how much are you charging us? And they had to cut prices by 20%, right? Their business model died, right? You remember Teletech, right? Great example. So there are reasons when you don't want companies to go public also, because if you have a situation where you have a very, you know, large customer who you are, you know, making good money off, maybe you don't want it to be known how profitable you are.
Sandeep, not just that. Even from a founder's perspective, there are people, I personally don't like I don't want to be CEO of publicly listed companies. Not because I don't want the finance to be known, to be answerable quarter on quarter to stock market, Wall Street or Dalal Street and manage the thing and all the stuff is something which I don't want to do in my life, right? So I want to create value. I want to do that. Somebody else may be perfectly comfortable handling all of this. That could be another reason. I don't, I mean, unless I'm forced with absolutely no choice, I don't want to run a publicly listed company.
But here comes a little conflict because as when you start with the valuations, you're saying it'll go an IPO and Alibaba's listing at 150 billion or whatever. So do you think that kind of culture is going to come into the Indian investing scenario, particularly the Series A, Series B type, that earlier stage?
Yeah. So it's actually very interesting. So when we started investing in 2000, from Nexus, we started investing in 2007. We were very concerned that Indian entrepreneurs sell too early. And, my prior experience has shown that, if somebody is coming out from a middle-class background and builds a business, maybe you guys won't sell too early because you have the money in your bank account, but these guys don't have money in their bank accounts. So if you're seeing a situation where you make $5 million in an exit of $30 million, you may take it. And for us as investors, that's not a very attractive exit because we may have put money at a $20 million valuation. So we are seeing 1.5 times our money, but for an entrepreneur, that $5 million matters a lot. That's a big change that we've seen, that today the Indian entrepreneurs are thinking about building billion-dollar-plus businesses, right? They're willing to dilute. Mithun is not thinking about, I need to exit right now because, Lee has more ownership or whatever else, or this is the valuation that I'm getting, I can go home and I'll make much more money than my dad ever made or whatever. He's thinking about, how do I build a business? How do I build a business to the larger scale? That's what's making it exciting for us. We're seeing entrepreneurs who are saying, doesn't matter how much money I can make today, it's how much money I can make in the future. I think that's what Mohit's point is extremely valid there.
Yeah. I think we're running out of time, so should I throw it open to the audience for any questions? I think we have some microphones out there. Anybody has any questions?
Hello, here. This is mainly to Mithun and Ganesh especially, but it also includes all the e-com area. In most of the e-com websites, like whether we take Amazon or Flipkart, mostly we see, whether it's cameras or shoes or anything, it's all branded products getting sold in most of the e-com websites. We don't see a lot in the jewelry e-com businesses. Do you think it's just not needed, or do you think it's not relevant, or do you think it's needed?
I'll let Mithun answer. It's a very tough question.
But that's not true. I believe Amazon's jewelry category is what, over 100 million or 150 million sales?
Yeah,
it's a pretty high
the US jewelry category itself is a $5 billion business. I think everything is evolution. It'll be hard. I mean, it's like a child, right? You can't make him start voting when he's 4 years old. So same way, I think we are still very early. There is a pecking order to how things happen as well. You get tickets that get bought first, then there are books and there are branded goods, and then there will be a time for this as well. Let's not think about it as anything other than a distribution channel. I mean, this is one more point of sale which is there. There is online, there is offline, and there is mobile, and there is everything else as well. So everything goes through an order, and it's not that it's not. You're comparing it today to what happens in the offline or what is happening to the branded space. So the information that you see on a branded space is already uniform. This information is not uniform when it comes to a brand which is online today. There are hardly any brands which are completely online, which are online brands which are, which you would put in the case of the top 20 brands of this country or do anything like that. I'm talking about non-marketplace brands, as single brands as such. So till that pecking order is not created, or till these brands are not built, which does take time, you will see that the results of that will follow up on a later date. So it's a function of marketing, I think. I wouldn't say we are not mature. I would say the companies are not mature yet. I think consumers are there. It's just that it takes time to build mature businesses as well on that part. Yeah.
There's just one more question. When we go through your lists of diamonds online, whether it's whichever website it is, we see a similar category of diamonds, whether it's 1 carat, same color, same clarity, same combination of everything, listed at different prices.
Yeah.
Isn't it confusing for the customers?
Well, you go Bombay to Delhi on a flight also, you'll find 10 prices for it, right? So it's just a question of what you decide to choose.
Yes, but it's different services. I mean, a jet will not have the same service as
and no
some
two
others.
diamonds are the same, right? So
how do you explain that to the customer?
I just tell them I just tell them if two are the same, then buy the cheapest price. Why even bother about the guy who's more expensive?
So is that really the same quality?
That's exactly what happens at the thing. And then you tell the guy, look, that guy's selling more expensive. You're getting a better deal. Buy the cheaper one.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to move on to a next question. Yeah. There.
Hi, just a question. I have two questions if I have time. Question number one is for the founders. What I heard is in '96 you opened Shahi.com. It was about 2006, I think,
Yep.
and same as Carrot Lane. And it seems like it took about 2 or 3 years before you saw some profitability. So how do you mentally or financially go on without having some money coming in for so many years? And how long do you stay on a company hoping that something good will turn out?
I don't show profitability.
Or still, okay.
Entrepreneurs don't like profitability because then they have to become managers. They don't like.
No, but at some time you have to run your house or roti kapda makan is there.
I think these are different business models. They are obviously, Infosys right from the first month made profit is services business. My first business, IT&T, started in 1980 when venture capitalist was not heard of. Made profit because we didn't have any other money. The total IT&T capital invested was 97,000. That's what all our people could feel in. So you had to make money. But when you start Tutor Vista, for example, when I started Tutor Vista, it's a direct to consumer company creating a brand in US. We knew it cannot be profitable, okay, right? We knew we had to have so much of money. It's like you're wanting to start a power plant. If you're going to start a power plant, you know profit is not going to come in first month. You know it's going to cost you 1,000 crores. You know that even before you start. So before you start, you will arrange that 1,000 crores or tie up the financial closure, then only we'll start it. So any e-commerce site, whether it is Bluestone, whether it is Tutor Vista or Big Basket, we know that it's going to take a lot of time to build profitability. Just like building a college, building this particular auditorium and all that. So don't despair. This is a known problem that profit is not going to come. So therefore, and you're going to burn money. This is the amount of money that is required to build a power plant or build an auditorium, build a college, build a site. So you have to plan for it. If you don't have the money, again, either from you, your friends, family, father-in-law, father, or VC, don't start. Because you will run out of money. It's like you're trying to start a power plant with 100 crores, but you know it requires 1,000 crores. Okay. So it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's a known fact which you have to build your finances for it. That's why go to Sandeep Singhal or go to Pala and show them that how you will build $1 billion company, appeal to their greed, and you will get the money.
So let me put a certain.
Save the VC.
So let me put a certain.
They will not agree. Yeah.
No, so I think it's true for founders as well as for investors, because sitting on the boards or whatever. But I think the most important thing for you is to think through the journey in those 3 years, right? So to Ganesh's point, there has to be a plan, right? So if you are spending 1,000 crores on a power plant, you know that this day your chimney stack is going to come up, this day your PPAs are going to be signed and all that stuff, right? So the same way, you will not spend 1,000 if you don't have a PPA signed, right? So the same way, that same thing applies to any business that you start. So you will keep milestones. So you will know that at the end of 1 year, I have a website up and running, I have these many customers coming, I have this level of transaction happening. I expect that in 6 months after I have marketed more, after I build the brand more, I should see higher per ticket size. I should see my cost of customer acquisition coming down. So there are all these metrics that you can define. I'm just talking about online businesses right now. But there are metrics that you define for customer acquisition cost. There are metrics you define for customer service cost, right? And that is something that you have to keep tracking. If those numbers are not sort of catching up with the revenue that you're capturing from the customer, at some point, that business is not sustainable, right? So you have to, when you're building a plan, you have to sort of start by saying, okay, my first year, my customer acquisition cost is going to be 1,000 rupees per customer. My next year, that should come down to 600. The next year should come down to 500. My first year, my average revenue per customer is going to be 200 rupees. Next year is going to be 600 rupees. The next year is going to be 3,000 rupees, right? If you don't see that trend in that right direction, there's something wrong. right? And the sooner you can catch that trend and say, hey, where am I going wrong? The quicker you can react and make changes to your business and build the business better. That's the key thing.
Also, just to add to that, once you raise a Series A, you are allowed to take a respectable salary, right? So the journey is only from the time you found your company until Series A. So how much time you give yourself really is a trade-off question. How much do you believe in the idea and how the metrics are reflecting? But if you've gone from angel funding to Series A for a period of between 2 to 3 years, you should start asking yourself serious questions about the viability of the model.
In my case, I became an entrepreneur, as I told you, by accident. I saw that village and I became an entrepreneur. And, I came to know that the people like VCs exist only in 2006. And the day I realized that somebody's job is to give money to build companies, I couldn't sleep that day. And I'm serious because, before that, I actually made a list of all the rich people in Bhopal. Rich people. I said, who got a Mercedes, who got an Audi, who got a big bungalow. And I actually knocked their door. And I went to them. I've been to my father-in-law. That list was already over.
Did he give you any money, your father-in-law?
I just had my list of, the wife, father-in-law, friends, fools, all that was over. But I even looked up to all those HNIs in Bhopal. Some of them gave money. The auntie looked at me and said, "They're a very innocent guy." I told them, "Uncle, you're already 80. Put some money, you'll be well known." All of that. So then I realized VCs exist. I can't tell you how good was that. And then I sent my proposal to something like 300 people. Whoever email I got online, nobody responded 2-3 months. Then I went to Bend of Angels in Delhi, had a 10 minutes presentation, and nobody asked me even one single question. So I came out of it just feeling my only goal is to meet one more VC and make sure he asked me at least one question. I think we all raised money afterwards, but the biggest lesson to me in all of that was the emotional, the roller coaster ride. And I think we could carry on because we had a good team who was actually want to do the telemedicine, who really wanted to do something meaningful. And they all said at some point of time that you want to have that vision, you want to do something meaningful. So everybody could just survive, say that if we can just carry on for a while, maybe we'll really make this village a lot more healthier. So I think we could just survive because of that. So.
Just one more small question is that you said, okay, don't go to VCs if you don't want to sell your soul, basically, because you don't want to give your part of your baby away.
I should walk down. I just sit next to you.
No,
I think questions are allowed.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that. Venture capital.
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying that.
Yeah.
But I went
Don't sell your soul to your father, not to the VC.
Don't say that. Venture capitalist gives you money, takes a high risk for high return.
Yep.
So if your business, if you are going to, let me give a simplest example. If you are going to buy some land, construct apartment in that land and sell those apartments, you don't need a risk capital. Why? Because the land is collateral security is there. You can't go wrong. You can't burn. You can't lose completely money. Land prices may go up and down. Something may happen, but you will essentially. That is not a typical VCable industry. If I were just give an example, then there you should put your own money, then borrow, do whatever, mortgage that land and do it. On the other hand, if you are trying to create a B2C consumer internet business, it's a risky business. It can go to zero. You require somebody who is willing to take that risk, understand the risk, and also, if it works, you will get obscene returns, like what Sandeep gets.
Take money from me. See, there you go.
Yeah, I just want to add to your question that you asked over there. I think, as Sandeep said earlier, they expect that 30% of the businesses go bust. That doesn't mean that that's why they invest in us, but they are a lot more mature in handling it. So I think a soul is safe. There's no issue with that part of it. It's much easier to take from them, frankly, than taking from a larger amount of money from someone who doesn't have the appetite to wait for the patience that can come in, which is your own self. You will not have the patience which a VC will have for that same amount of time. I mean, these guys wait for 8 to 10 years for us to even, come on the right path in most cases as well. So I don't think you should worry about that.
Thanks, Mithun. I think we have one more question here, and I think we'll take one more after this, and we'll have to wind up.
So, as a community, everyone here, we're very closely knit, right? So, father generally started the business, son did the MBA, but correlation is not very high that he'll turn out to be a VC funder or an entrepreneur. But the question really is, each one of you may have come from family businesses, or some point your parents may have been, running a business. No, never. Okay.
I don't think any of us.
Well, a lot of us here do.
And my question, I'm seeing Mithun having taken that very differentiated approach. Carrot Lane could have been by Sachetis or by Jaipur Gem. You've chosen not to. So in many ways, you've actually chosen to take the different path from the family business. Goes to say that, you have that courage to do that, but also I think goes to show that the family let you do that. How difficult is it? And do you feel you have a safety net, or do you feel this is a one-way street?
I can't take away the fact that there is a safety net. So, but, it'll always be there to that extent. But also, more than the safety net is, I think the way I think about it is the biggest quandary was the time that it's going to take to build that business, and what is the opportunity cost of, had I, every 7 years we're building a store. So maybe that could have become 4 years, or every 3 years that we would have been building the store at that point. So that definitely was the thought on that part of it. I grew up in the same environment as most people in this hall as well. And I do feel that we aren't doing enough as a community for the next generation. We shelter them too much, we protect them too much, and we don't let them out. I see here, so many families have 3 generations over here as well. And I feel that the first did a lot for the second, but the first is protecting the third too much. It's, or the old saying which is there, that my father said that to me, my grandfather said that to me a million times, where it fails, asal se zyada byaj pyara hai. So we protect our families so much. Why are we not doing a lot more outside of India than we are doing over here? We produce 9 out of 10 diamonds, we cut them, we don't control the retail side of this business. It's because we want everyone to be right where we are, and we want everyone to do, and I did it better than the next guy as well on that part. So I think to some extent, while the onus lies on this generation to go out and say and fight for it and do that part of it, but it also has to come from, you got to put them away and say, go figure out yourself what needs to be done on it as well. So I think from both sides of it, that needs to be done as well. The risk needs to be taken.
Absolutely. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, Mithun. I think that's the very last question before we wind up.
So I have a couple of questions that's open to the entire panel here, Both the questions are actually dichotomies, The first one is, when startups actually start...
Is that Avinash?
Yeah, that's
I'm not answering any of his questions.
So the question here is, startups, when they're incubated, when they're mentored, really, the mantra that they really talked about is basically fail fast. Whereas, really of late, the mantra that seems to be working on ground is scale fast. Scale fast. Scale fast. Yeah. So these are 2 mantras that seem to be kind of professed and practiced, If you could share your nuances and experiences in both these. And the other one is between, about exits, really, Is it that, why the dichotomy where, valuations before the exit is made is based as a multiple of revenues, i.e. sales, whereas after the exit is made, it's basically a multiple of earnings. That's it.
You want to take that?
So I'll take the second question, but my point is, I don't think that actually is true. This notion of that it's a multiple of revenues and then it becomes a multiple of profits. It's fundamentally driven by growth. So if you are showing tremendous growth and you're not profitable, but you have a path to profitability, I think you can still justify a valuation. So it's valuation, as somebody mentioned earlier, is not just about where you are today, but where you can get to in the future, right? It's all about future earnings if you do the discounted cash flow analysis and everything else. So fundamentally, the reason why companies like Apple or Google or whatever get valued at the valuations they have is that the expectation is that they will retain their earnings. And companies that are not profitable right now, Amazon is not profitable, right? But Amazon is hugely valued. The reason for that is very simple, that people look at Amazon and say, look at their free cash flow. Tomorrow, if they were to decide to stop investing for growth, they can be hugely profitable. They've chosen not to be profitable, right? So I don't think that is always the case, that it switches from revenue to profitability. The other thing about scale.
I think, the seeming dichotomy between fail fast and scale fast is actually 2 sides of the same coin. I think what I take away from that is, fail fast into what's not working and scale rapidly for what's working. So I don't think they're really contrasting in that manner.
No, I think, there are business models where you are trying to make a particular product or a particular thing work. You need to crack the code. There it's better to fail fast. You have other business models where it's an execution game. There you need to scale fast by having the capital and all that because there's nothing to test. Take example, Big Basket, okay, right? We are delivering grocery home. There is nothing to prove, okay, right? So I would rather scale fast, raise money, scale fast, put system, technology, process in place. But if you are developing something like a Snapchat or WhatsApp or some cool app that will make you fly, for example, okay, right? So that app, I need to see whether it can work. Otherwise, I'll have to move on to the next app, okay, right? So it varies between model to model.
I've been through the cycle of scaling actually, and we've been part of a business which has moved from a traditional print business to an online business. So Axel Springer grew from $6 million in revenues from digital to something like 1.5 billion in 6 years. So they come to us and say that they want to really see a profitable business, and I think we've done that very successfully. While we were scaling, actually having losses, it was very easy to cut down it and say, you'll stay profitable very, very easily. I grow at maybe 50%, not at 100%. So I think it's not that, as you just said, it's, if you have a basic product and fundamentals right in place, you can always change gears and stay very profitable. So,
just on the second half of your question, think about, the cycle for me is like a day in your life. You start your day in the morning, and till halfway through your day, the whole day is like an opportunity that comes about itself. And if the end of the day is the time span that you have in it, and you've now seen the opportunity, then the second half of the day is to monetize as well. So the second half of the day is where you're monetizing, and that's why your revenue counts that much more. And the first half of the day, you're looking at opportunities, that's why opportunities counts that much more as well. So when you start seeing that opportunities are starting to taper down, and now you're seeing horizon it's not horizon anymore, but you can see the end of opportunities, or you see the market size is now going to grow only at a certain stage, then I think companies start talking about revenue a lot more. But till you see opportunity being abundant and endless, I think opportunities is what is spoken about. At least that's how I've read it so far on this.
Yeah, I just want to, as a VC, just say that, it's not that we want money to burn. Money is not given to burn, it's to create value. It's not so much about profit as to, about the value creation, that I think all of them have brands, and that's what the value is sort of fixed with. I think we have one last question from Arun Bhai. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, Mike.
Paula, answer can be from anybody. My question is, the growth and success of e-commerce has started impacting on the mall businesses and mall industry. What will happen ultimately? Will it die down, these malls systems? And if that happens, the value of the land can be crushed?
You want to take that?
Yeah, so actually, that's a very interesting point. So our belief, obviously, is that India is in the leapfrog model, right? So if you think about it, it leapfrogged in mobile, it's leapfrogged in other markets. So retail also, what we are seeing is that retail, there is a leapfrog opportunity. So today, as Paula presented, it's probably 1.4% of, or actually less than 1% of total retail is e-commerce. And in developed markets, that number is 8%. In the UK, it's 12%. 12% of UK retail is today happens online. So will that happen in India? I actually believe that you will see a lot faster movement of retail to online retail rather than mall-based retail. But let me step back. The other behavior that we are seeing is that the nature of malls is changing, right? So at that same time, you can't do everything in a closed environment. So what we are seeing in China is very interesting. In China, the average time that people spend on the net is about 5 or 6 hours a day. This is outside of work. This outside of work, they're spending 5 to 6 hours on the net. In India, that number is probably in minutes. So the question that we have to ask is that behavior going to happen? Are we going to start seeing a society which is much more oriented towards individual consumption of entertainment? So if that happens, then I would agree with you that the mall business will have a lot of problem. Otherwise, there is opportunities for malls to convert into sort of not just retail destinations, but sort of retail, entertainment, all of that. So in the US, you have seen that, that model work, right? So the question is, how do you re-establish yourself? But that is one challenge, to your point of challenges in the traditional business. That is one challenge that could potentially come from e-commerce.
Yeah, I think, no, it's a very, very interesting question. The way we see it is, there are certain things will go online, be it simple books, grocery. There is no pleasure in this kind of infrastructure, no parking, heat, to go, park, carry bags of atta and sugar and all of that stuff. So in Bangalore it happened where the malls had Big Bazaar, they are just shut down because it's just not profitable for them to do it. People want to do it there. On the other hand, Sandeep mentioned entertainment, whether it is a cinema complex, whether it is all that will continue to be there because there's a reason people will want to go out, hang out, do bowling, have a beer, play and do that stuff. But will buying say a grocery or a book or that would be there. That's one. Two, not everybody for like the jewelry 15,000 to 20,000 category, people want to have enormous choice of designs. They can get in Carrot Lane or Bluestone and be able to buy. You want to gift it. You don't want to go and buy and all that stuff. So all that way. I don't think we are anywhere close to where the property prices will crash. But the nature of the malls, what they are catering to will definitely keep changing. And we are hoping one of the biggest bets of e-commerce is that is what will happen. Okay, right? I don't know whether 6 hours will happen or not.
Just to add to that, I think the biggest, it's always fundamentally said, the rate of infrastructure decides the price of property in a certain area. If infrastructure goes very fast, then property prices will not rise. And in India, we've seen infrastructure doesn't rise. So property prices are safe. I think Modi might be the biggest threat to property prices right now.
Well, I think we are ready to wrap up. I think with that, we hope there's going to be even more exciting investments coming our way and more money to be made for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all of us for this interesting and enlightening and thought-provoking presentation. We'll just finish exactly in 3 minutes. Could I call Rajiv, Chairman of Vidya Mandir Trust, to come up and give token of appreciation for the panelists? Could we have the first one for Ganesh, please? Could we also have Sunil Bhai Javeri of Samaj Kendra to come up? To Sandeep, please. This program, right from conceptualization to getting the members of the panel, it has been Russell Bhai's work. Can I call upon Russell Bhai? Russell Bhai is also the new trustee on Vidya Mandir Trust, and we welcome you on the board as well. To Anupam, please. Rajiv, could you, Russell, can you just wait? We'll take a photo. Rajiv, can you also give to Mithun, please? And Bharat Bhai to Mohit, please. Can I call upon Chairman of Palanpur Samaj Kendra, Arun Bhai, to come and thank Paula? Just two small announcements. Video of this presentation would be on YouTube in a couple of days. There is a feedback form which has been given to you. Please do fill up and give at the back. Thank you very much.